reflect a little bit of my journey and some of the poems that I found particularly inspiring. But first and foremost, I do want to mention Happy Mother's Day to the moms out there. And I have some of our community mothers up here that I'm going to basically pay homage to my tribute. So they'll be up there, and then you'll see some other pictures, some of the mentors and things that have impacted me on my life journey. Now some of them, go back, not yet. One of the women was the first to become a teacher in our community. She was the first African American to become a teacher. Another one was the first to work at a telephone company. That was my auntie. She's also made history as an African American in the community. And so, at 21 years old, I tend to be a little bit, unconventional in what I find to be fun. As I reflected in my sort of blog post, I'm a little bit weird, actually. Among my favorite pastimes still includes story time. And so this usually consists of older folks sort of carrying on with their rambling about the trials and triumphs of their history and our collective history as African Americans, and there's some of these brilliant, beautiful women in our community who are sort of like mothers to me. But what happens is, as they pass away and as I continue on the trajectory that's become my life journey with a commitment especially to doing, as I believe Kim shared a little bit earlier, attacking some of the inequalities in our education system, I found that one of the most valuable sources of empowerment for me personally was spending time with these people who have gone on to achieve sort of great things, and the people who basically had an inclination towards doing the impossible, taking risks, and having challenges. So inspired by what was in America called, there was a campaign, it was called Favorite Poems Project, and it was put together by one of our national poet laureates. The purpose was to celebrate, document, and encourage poetry's role in American lives. And so I'm going to just take a few moments to talk about a couple of poems by poets that I think you all, especially here from here, might particularly appreciate, and I hope that you'll find some empowerment in them as well. But before I do that, one of my favorite TED Talks was by a gentleman named Barry Schwartz, and it was about the loss of wisdom. Wisdom is very important, as you'll see. He cites Aristotle right off the bat by explaining what basically practical wisdom is. And he says, practical wisdom is a combination of moral will and moral skill. He goes on to say that wise men are made, not born, and that these wise men know when to make the exception to the rules. He gives examples of people who are willing to take the risk of breaking the rules, like many people are familiar with doing, in order to achieve great and extraordinary things, like many of you are averse to doing. And so some of these trailblazers who I've come into contact with, he took me to this moment where he said particularly that among the ingredients for manufacturing wise citizens are to be mentored by wise teachers. Edgar Guest calls for this in his poem Show Me, where he says specifically that he'd rather see one in action living their creeds, or the good in action is what everyone needs to see. So with that, the first poem that I'm going to share with you in honor of those individuals who are willing to do just that was written by the English-born American poet who many of you may be familiar with. We call him the people's poet, who's none other than Edgar Albert Guest. The name of the poem is They Couldn't Be Done. Somebody said that it couldn't be done, but he with a chuckle replied that maybe it couldn't, but he would be the one who wouldn't say so until he tried. So he buckled right in with a trace of a grin on his face. If he worried, he hid it. He started to sing as he tackled the thing that couldn't be done, and he did it. Somebody scoffed, oh, you'll never do that. At least no one has done it. But he took off his coat and he took off his hat, and the thing, before we knew it, he begun it. With the lift of his chin and a bit of a grin, without any doubting or quit it, he started to sing as he tackled the thing that couldn't be done, and he did it. There are thousands to tell you it cannot be done. There are thousands to prophesy failure. There are thousands to point to you one by one, the dangers that wait to assail you. But just buckle it in with a bit of a grin. Just take off your coat and go to it. Just start to sing as you tackle the thing that can't be done, and you'll do it. When in 2008, then Senator Barack Obama read his historic campaign I thought in the back of my mind that if I were to mobilize America, or the world for that matter, I would probably choose another theme, and that would relate back to one word, and that word is opportunity. One such can't be done objective that I have personally is to see in this world the development of bright, empowered minds for the future through the attainment of a world-class education for everyone. My background in civil rights advocacy has led me to understand firsthand what the 20th century struggle in America to ensure that African Americans, such as myself, have the opportunity to attend distinguished institutions such as this one, institutions of learning that were not segregated by the color of one's skin. There were individuals who fought on the front lines in that particular fight for freedom because they believed, like Malcolm X stated, that without an education, you're not able to go anywhere in this world. He also said education is the passport to the future. Like Malcolm X, Dr. Martin Luther King saw that the power that we have as individuals came through education. And in his acceptance speech, which he gave in March of 1964, so about exactly 48 years ago this week, he stated and expressed that walling off individuals from equal education is part of the historical design to submerge them into second-class status. He says, therefore, we have struggled to be free, and the fight continues for the opportunity for a decent education. Now, even though Dr. King and Malcolm X had passed long before I began my journey into civil rights advocacy, there were many great leaders, activists, thinkers, and individuals who otherwise distinguished themselves in a number of important fields and achieved great successes, business, governance, science, academics, and social justice. And so the next piece that I'd like to share was particularly a source of empowerment to me, having grown up and experienced meeting a lot of these people. It remains one of the favorite pages that I have in sort of the history of my life. And what it is, it's about equipment and the equipment that it takes to convert the information that we learn into actual power. So again, by Edgar Guest, equipment. Figure it out for yourself, my lad. You've got all the greatest of men have had. 2 arms, 2 hands, 2 legs, 2 eyes, and a brain to use if you would be wise. And with this equipment, they all began. So start for the top and say, I can. Look them over, the wise and the great. They take their food from a common plate. And similar knives and forks they use. With similar laces, they tie their shoes. The world considered them brave and smart. But you've got all they had when they made their start. You can triumph and come to skill. You can be great if only you will. You are well equipped for the fight you choose. You have arms and legs and that brain to use. The man who has risen great deeds to do began his life with no more than you. You are the handicap that you must face. You are the one who must choose your place. You must say where you want to go, how much you will study, the truth to know. God has equipped you for life, but He lets you decide what you want to be. Courage must come from the soul within. The man must furnish the will to win. So figure it out for yourself, my lad. You were born with all that the greats have had. With your equipment, they all began. So get hold of yourself and say, I can. Some of my most fond of memories growing up include marching alongside, standing in line to meet, or even having dinner with some of those who have achieved great things in the United States and beyond. I started so early in my position with the association that I remember sort of being the star of our history classes in middle school, because it got to a point where we'd open the textbooks and my colleagues and I would get excited because we met that person who made this particular history, or we'd have experience to share. And so among them were great inventors, great American young leaders, some of whom became recently the youngest to serve as leaders of our historic organization. Others who challenged the status quo by running for president as an African American. Another who went on to become president of the United States. And among my favorite, honestly, one wonderful woman from Chicago who went on to become the first lady of our country, who I've met and have personally been inspired by. But yet many people said it couldn't be that. So as I bring this reflection on some of the wise sort of words that these great men and women have shared, I look to none other than an Oxford man a man named Ted. There is a Ted. His name is actually Theodore Sloisgazel, better known as Dr. Seuss. He's had very many, in his 46 children's books and more, his timeless lessons and prose have had a way of reaching us from where we are, from the age of 5 years old to 50. This month, again, in the United States, we celebrate what's called Read Across America Day on March 2nd, which would have been this year's 106th birthday. At 106, the simplicity and basic beauty of his poetry continues to guide us on our respective paths of self-discovery, of using our imaginations and sparking lively discussions about important social issues, including racism and greed among them. But most importantly, he inspires people like you and me who really care to persevere, fitting to our apparent collective interest in education and research. We are at the leading research institution in the world as far as I'm concerned, which is SOAS. He reminds us that sometimes the questions are complicated, and they are. But Dr. Seuss says that those answers are simple. So keep searching, and as you head to the library day in and day out, as I'm going to do, it's convenient to just down the hall when we're done. Remember, he says sometimes it's good to reflect on the fact that the more you read, the more you will know, the more you learn, the more places you'll go, and the places you'll go. We're here today because we've all made up our minds. We've made commitments to know more, to do more, to expect more of ourselves, and to expand our minds to the possibilities that will change our world. So today, as we are halfway through the program, we get better news is that we have a few more speakers to go, but we are halfway through. Let's reflect on the good days that we've had, let's reflect on the good times, but also reflect on the challenging ones, and on the values and the immortal lessons that we've learned from individuals, be it from our communities, as I've learned, and some of the other distinguished individuals who I've had the pleasure of meeting and working with through my life journey. And it's also, Dr. Seuss said it best, that ultimately it's up to us. We're here today to be empowered. And at the end of the day, we have to take what we've learned and know that it's up to you. Because unless someone like you cares a whole awful lot, nothing is going to get better. It's not. So apply what you've learned, because knowledge is power, and you have the power to affect radical, positive change. The world needs each and every one of you. The ideas and the insights and the solutions that are within you are a part of you, the wonderful you. And the fact is that you are you. There's nothing truer than that truth. There's no one alive who is truer than you. So God bless you. Know that the world needs you.